What is up, everyone? I'm SOV Mufasa with SOV Gaming. Thanks for stopping in today. We are going to be reviewing the MG42, or Hitler's Buzzsaw. Now, during World War II, this weapon, it was actually called the Maschinengewehr 42, or again, Hitler's Buzzsaw. It was chambered in 7.92 by 5.7 millimeter Mauser, which is just slightly smaller than the American 30-06, which is what we used in the M1 Garand and the Browning 30 caliber machine gun. Now, this weapon was designed by the Germans and then used extensively by the Wehrmacht and the Waffen-SS during the second half of World War II. And it was intended to replace the earlier MG34, which was more expensive and took longer to produce. Unfortunately, we don't find the MG34 in Call of Duty World War II. I really hope that we do, because it was actually a pretty decent weapon system. There weren't too many differences in firing, things like that, between the 42 and 34. But anyhow, so the weapon, it operates off of a gas. It's a recoil-operated roller-locked action, which fires about 1,200 rounds a minute, vary between 900 to 1,500 rounds with different bolts. So really depending on the bolt that you were running. Effective range, you could accurately hit targets at about 2,000 meters. And that's just off of sights. That equates out to about 2,187 yards is what I have here. Now, with a tripod and telescopic sight, you could accurately engage targets out at 3,500 meters with no problem. That's insane, right? For a lot of people, that is that is a long distance to engage targets. And the same thing, so max firing range. Now, this is the maximum distance that you could possibly hit a target at. It's about 4,700 meters. That's 5,000 yards. That's a lot. So, anyhow, so onto the weapon itself, right? How to obtain this thing. So, under your armored class, if you prestige your armored, right, you can get the MG42, but you have to prestige your armored to get this weapon. If you don't prestige your armored class, you cannot get this. Unfortunately, it's not obtainable any other way. The farthest up you can go is the Bren. You can't even unlock it with a, what is that thing called? The token. The prestige token. You cannot unlock these with the prestige token. It's kind of saddening. That was the first thing I wanted to unlock when I bought this game. I got a prestige token, but no dice, I guess. So, this is the MG42 in its base variant. So this thing, it looks incredible. It's absolutely gorgeous. Let's go down to the firing range to quick take a look at it. We'll go right down into here. So the MG42, I've got the extended magazine, which gives me the drum mag. It looks phenomenal. It's absolutely gorgeous. They did a phenomenal job detailing this thing. It looks great. It sounds great. We're just going to keep firing for just a minute here, right? Get into the reload animation. Yeah, they did they just fantastic job with the reload animation as well. This thing sounds intense when you start laying into targets, especially from like third party. If you start hearing this thing go off, you can definitely tell it's an MG42, or at least I can, because I'm obsessed with this weapon. What's really neat, so obviously it's on your armored class, so you get a bipod, which allows you to mount it to anything. Now, this thing, when it is hooked up with a bipod, has close to no recoil. And man, let me tell you what, when you start waylaying into targets, it is nasty, because this thing just laser beams rounds down range. Fast reload once you're down on the bipod position. And the same thing goes when you're just firing kind of from the hip, but mounted. You have a laser line of bullets that come out of this thing. Some upgrades for the weapon. You've got, obviously, your base camouflage. That's not upgrades and stuff like that. But your base upgrades, you've got your quick draw, grip, reflex, sight, steady aim, full metal jacket, 4x optic, extended mag, and rapid fire. Now, the only problem, the only issue that I see with this weapon is that the rapid fire does not really increase the rate of fire. At least it doesn't seem like it to me. I could be completely wrong. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys feel like I'm a little off base with that. If anything, it slightly increases it. I don't think that it's really increased enough to be noticeable or to really warrant influence over the weapon. The same thing with the grip. I don't think that the grip really does too much for the weapon. I think it helps a little bit, but not too much. The weapon doesn't really have a whole lot of recoil, which is odd because the real MG42 has an insane amount of recoil. But as you notice, you can pretty much maintain on target pretty easily. You get a few jumps here and there, which I feel like is what the grip does. It takes out those little jumps, but if you don't have it, don't fret. I don't think it's too big a deal. So as for different variants for the weapon, there are several different variants for this weapon. One makes it look almost like an M60, actually, which is kind of weird. But the only one that I have, which is one that you can buy through the Quartermaster, is the Zipper. Now this is an epic variant, so it gives you 10% soldier XP bonus, and it actually looks really, really nice. I like the way that it looks, especially with the drum mag put on here. This thing looks crisp. It looks a lot bulkier too. It doesn't really change anything, obviously, as far as your recoil and stuff like that. Just really changes the look and gives you the added percent. So now here's the big thing that I've heard a lot of people complain about this weapon is tactics using it, right? They say, oh, it makes me too slow. The response time when you're aiming is too low, and the grip doesn't help, right? The what do they call it in here? The quick drop. The quick draw does not really help. And I understand that. The MG42 in and of itself weighs like around 20 pounds or something like that. I can't really remember. But this weapon system is not meant for a run and gun, sprinting around corners and, you know, quick shooting people. That's not what this weapon system's meant for. This is a light machine gun. A lot of people think LMGs are junk in Call of Duty. That's because they have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, LMGs, all right, and this is no offense to them, but LMGs are meant to cover areas, right? A wide variety, or a wide range of areas. You got about 180 degrees while mounted on a bipod. Now, there are several ways that this thing becomes a beast, right? Especially if you're playing an objective-based game mode. If you are covering one area, right? Let's say this was my avenue of approach, right here between these 2 points, between this log, or between this tall thing, whatever, and then this wood pile here, right? If this was my avenue of approach, I have this entire area that I can just sit here and lay rounds down range and stack bodies with, right? With no issue, no recoil almost. I gotta reload every now and again, but the reload is fast. Now, if somebody's using this weapon system or another LMG, and they're using it effectively, and they're reloading every so often, and going out and getting more ammo, or dying and coming straight back and having somebody cover their location, you can hold an area down with this weapon pretty easily, and I've done it on several different occasions. Typically I use the MG42, and typically I sit and I hold one area. That's what this weapon is meant for. It's not meant for running and gunning. It's not meant for, diving and quick jumping and all that kind of stuff. That's not what this thing's meant for. When you're firing from the hip, it's got a really big spray. It's got a really big pattern, a really big cone. It's gonna be a while before you actually hit your target. So this thing is meant for being in an area and covering one location. Now, if you are in a run and gun situation, let's say you're playing war, for an example, right? Your best bet with this weapon system is to stay kind of behind your teammates and act as a support gunner, just like this weapon was intended for, right? You see an enemy, your teammate sees an enemy, God forbid, let's hope this doesn't happen, but the enemy shoots your teammate first. Well, you already know that guy's there, so you can start putting rounds downrange on him and his buddies, right, with no issues. Now, if you're trying to run and gun, trying to be the first in the fight and stuff like that, you'd be better off with a different weapon system like an SMG or an assault rifle running on the infantry or the airborne platform. Armored, again, like they said, this is a support class. You are to support the infantry and the airborne. Help them out, put some rounds down range, stack some bodies, yeah? Alright. So I think that's just about it that I have for this weapon. There are a few other variants, but unfortunately I don't have them, so I'm going to have to kind of keep working until I get them. I think they're random drops that you get, but yeah, I don't have them yet, so sad day there. All in all, do I say this weapon's worth the unlock? Do I say it's worth the grind? That's what I've seen a lot of people debating, whether or not it's worth the grind. I would say yes. I think out of the LMGs, I think that it is probably one of the best LMGs in the game, aside from maybe the MG15. The Bren isn't bad, but I think the MG15 probably is the next best in terms of its overall use. I like its rate of fire. Not a fan of the recoil on this thing. It jumps a lot. But that's just me. Everybody has their personal opinions. Would I say that the MG42 is the best one? Personally, yes. I like the MG42. So you guys can take that with a grain of salt. Take it as you like. Anyhow, I think that'll wrap it up for this video. So again, I'm SOV Mufasa. Thanks for watching. If you guys like my video, please like, comment on it. Let's have a discussion about this thing. What do you think is the best MG? Or do you think there are other ways to use this weapon that I didn't cover? I'd really like to hear from you guys. So comment down below, like the video if you like what I have here, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you can get access to the rest of my videos. Alright, you guys have yourselves a good one. Thanks for stopping.